And straight to this Fox News alert, an Air India plane bound for London crashing shortly after takeoff.
Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. Amidst the horrible tragedy of that Air India plane crash, one of the passengers apparently survived. Incredible footage shows him walking away after getting medical treatment. Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, a British national, says, "When I regained consciousness, there were bodies all around me. I was terrified. I got up and ran. Debris from the plane was everywhere. Someone pulled me into an ambulance." Ramesh, who had been visiting his family in India, was in seat 11A. And that mattered because it was close to an emergency exit. More on that in a moment. Air India Flight 171 took off from Ahmedabad Airport and had a catastrophic lack of lift.
This video just came into our newsroom, and our CBS News confirmed team has verified that it is real. You're seeing the aircraft there. Within 1 minute of departing and taking off, it descends behind a building, and then a huge fireball comes out of the wreckage. India's top health officials are saying many were killed.
Another video posted online shows the full takeoff sequence. This is a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The Air India flight had 242 passengers on board. Local time, it was 1:38 p.m. in the afternoon. As you can see, the aircraft takeoff along the runway appears to be normal. There is initially some lift, but very quickly, instead of the steeper angle that commercial aircraft typically have on takeoff, this jet appears to flatten out and then lose lift. The plane crashed into a residential neighborhood about a mile from the airport. Here's part of a CBS News report from London.
The flight was on its way here to the UK, specifically to London's Gatwick Airport. And having just taken off, that of course means the plane was loaded up with fuel. This was for a 4,000-mile flight for more than 9 hours.
The plane apparently went down next to an apartment building and struck part of a youth hostel. And so in addition to the hundreds of people killed on the aircraft, authorities say at least 5 more people in the apartment building were killed. On ABC News, aviation experts say the flight characteristics in the final seconds are noteworthy.
This was not a nosedive. This plane had just taken off. We've seen videos circulating on social media showing it almost looks like it's landing. It's coming down at roughly 500 feet per second on a glide scope, so not a nosedive. The landing gear was still down. This signifies some sort of loss of power. And of course, we now know that the captain did make some sort of a mayday call, but then that was it, and we did not hear what the issue may have been. As
investigators pull the black boxes and begin to examine data about the aircraft flaps, engine power settings, and even information entered into the computer, attention is building quickly over survivor Vishwash Ramesh.
The newspaper Hindustan Times quotes the man as a British national, saying he heard a loud noise 30 seconds after takeoff. At least 290 people have died, according to Reuters.
How did he walk away when it appears nearly everybody else on board perished? Well, first of all, Ramesh has been confirmed as a passenger on the flight. He was on the manifest and showed his boarding pass to reporters while being treated for wounds. Reporters say Ramesh suffered visible injuries to his chest, eyes, and feet. Secondly, Ramesh and his brother, who was apparently killed, were sitting in row 11. In the seating configuration of this Boeing 787 Dreamliner, it put them towards the front of a section of Economy Plus seats and near an exit door. Also, Ramesh was sitting towards the front of the plane just ahead of the wings where the fuel tanks are located. In other words, he was situated where the fire would be the least intense. In many crashes where passengers survive the initial impact and debris, they still die because of the subsequent fire and smoke inhalation. Finally, experts say Ramesh survived largely because of luck. The breakup of the aircraft with all of the destruction and pieces will often block or impede a passenger's escape. But in this case, Ramesh, once he regained consciousness, had a path to walk away. Family of Ramesh say they have spoken with him and that he has, quote, no idea how he got out.
Just looking at that photo of what looks like the tail of the plane sticking out of the building, I mean, some of the wreckage here, it's hard to even believe when you look at the images coming out right now. What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction to that is that it indicates that the airplane came in at a kind of a flat angle, and that is what we see on the videotapes as well. They had nowhere to go if they didn't have any engine power.
And Sam, any sense of any communications issues with air traffic control?
Well, we heard the Mayday call go out, but then again, as I said, that is it. But you just mentioned the tail, and we see that image on the screen of the tail sticking out of that building. That is going to make it very easy for investigators to pull the black boxes because that's where they are stored on the airplane.
Authorities in India say the death toll from this crash is more than 250. That includes passengers, flight crew, and even medical students who were in a college hostel when the plane hit part of the building. On the aircraft, the only survivor is Vishwas Ramesh, a British national who was in the right place at the right time and is now an air disaster miracle. By the way, here in the United States, Donald Trump White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just condemned the January 6th Capitol insurrection. No, not really. But her words about attacks on police in Los Angeles are striking in the context of the January 6th riot.
These attacks were aimed not just at law enforcement, but at American culture and society itself. Rioters burned American flags, chanted, and spray painted anti-American slogans on buildings. But President Trump will never allow mob rule to prevail in America.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
The most basic duty of government is to preserve law and order, and this administration embraces that sacred responsibility.
He has just returned to the White House and is signing a series of executive actions in the Oval Office, where he is pardoning some 1,500 January 6 rioters who have been convicted.
Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Can you clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard.
If there's any protester wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Kevin, who wrote, "The hypocrisy is just unbelievable." Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about the sole survivor of the Air India crash. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.